Welcome to Adorable Corner, where sensible reigns. It is our promise to keep you informed and entertained with all that makes sense. Do subscribe to this channel and like our videos always.
Good morning, Lagos, and good morning, Nigeria, and to all of our listeners, subscribers, and all those who take time to watch the Adorable Scanner where the sensible reigns. You're welcome this morning. It's a beautiful Monday morning, 3rd of May. Truth be told, today is really beautiful, right? Yes, and happy celebration to all those who are in the talking space, journalists, newscasters, presenters. Let's greet them all together. Let's not be greedy. Even though today is just a day for, I think, journalists basically. So happy celebration to all our journalists. We pray that God bless them and enables them to rise up high in all that they found as their profession in life, protects their lives and continuously keeps them safe. Let's hope that as today, United Nations marks the world celebration for press freedom today. Good morning once again, everybody. Welcome to Adorable Scanner where the sensible reigns. My name is Ayobami Elizabeth Idowu. I'm also grateful heart. You know it, I'm always saying it. I'm grateful to all those who have joined us, who will join, who are joining, and who are also intending to join. Let's leave it that way. Thank you so much. Yes, I have a friend here who is a journalist. But before I go into that, how much have you worked without being paid? Can you even work without getting, something back in return? Like something that serves as a remuneration for what you've done, for what you're doing, or for what you want to do. Can you? And how long can you hold off without getting remunerated? Yes, I'm asking this question because we're going to learn a lot. That if you're passionate about something, you will do something about what you're passionate about. You would work for it. You will work towards it. You will walk along with it. You will. In fact, don't worry, let's leave all the way. But I have a friend here. His name is Benga Ogundari. I'm sure when he starts to talk and introduce himself, so many of us would have read his articles before. He works for the Nation newspaper as a freelancer journalist. He's an award winner in so many ways, right? He will tell us, he will gist us about his awards, because really I am inspired by him. I am really inspired by him. And today being World Press Freedom Day, I just decided to feel his pulse, take his part of the story as a journalist, because he's a researcher journalist. He covers all and he talks about different areas in the human life. He even talks about disability, the disability clusters and all. So I'm sure in one way or the other, he must have come across all that press freedom entails. And that's why I decided to interview him today. Welcome, Mr. Ogundari. Good to see you. And I hope that we'll learn something or lots of things from you today. Okay, as we're celebrating World Press Freedom Day today, being 3rd of May, so let me ask you a few questions, and I hope that your responses would at least shed light on what we need to know. First of all, I want to know the news outlet you work with presently. How did you get to know them? When did you start working with them?
My name is Benga Ogundari. I'm a journalist with visual disability and I currently write for the Nation newspaper as a freelance investigative journalist.
Which of the news outlets was your very first that you worked with immediately, you were certified as a journalist? Now, what year was that?
Yeah, I started my journalism way back in December 2002 as a reporter researcher with the now defunct Tempo magazine, which was under the stable of the Independent Communications Network Limited, the publishers of the news magazine PM News and AM News. Yeah, after Tempo magazine was arrested, I was, moved to the news magazine as a reporter researcher, and I also at some point wrote for PM News, as an art reporter.
Now, I know that it was during this journalism and all that you lost your sight. But while you were still seeing, and even till now, have you published any of your works that has made you maybe feel wanted? I don't mean wanted as in being sought after, like, okay, I want this person to mentor me and all, not that. The one that maybe you publish something about the government and the government is looking to find the person who published that work so that they can do something to the person who published the work, maybe something bad, or you've wanted to interview somebody and your camera or your recorder was destroyed or something. Have you been assaulted, let me put it that way, in any way because of this journalism as a profession? Have you? What year was that? If you've had several experiences, can you share with us your, at least the experience you will never forget? Your most terrible experience that you will never forget?
I've not been harassed. I've not been beaten, but maybe I've been harassed. I mean, just one of such experiences was last year when I did a story on persons with albinism in Lagos State. It was my intention to look at the Lagos State Special People's Law and how it is working or not working for disabled persons in Lagos State. So I used the persons with albinism as my peg, and I discovered that those, that particular cluster, that community is suffering, because they can't access, free healthcare services as provided in Section 32 of the Lagos State Special People's Law. So I remember I write for the Nation newspaper as a freelancer, not because they pay me. I don't earn salary in the Nation newspaper. I'm just pursuing my passion, and I found an editor that was interested in giving me a voice, on the pages of the Nation newspaper on Sunday. So I've been trying to get a job in government. So somebody's been trying to help me, get a job, and so they don't want me to do anything that will hurt the government, so that that particular exercise can bear fruit. So I did a story on persons with albinism dying by installment. That's why Special People's Law, and so I was warned, about it, and then I think the following month or 2 months later, I did a story on malnutrition epidemic and disease infection, raging in destitute homes in Lagos, Ogun, and Oyo State. And so the person was livid, and they called me to say that we are trying to help you get a job so that you don't die as a blind journalist, and then you are hurting the Lagos State government, and forget about getting a job in the state, because they are seeing what you are writing and you seem to be an enemy of the state. So I told him, well, my journalism is a journalism for social change, and my conscience first. The ordinary Nigerians who cannot get a voice in the media, who are usually neglected, are my own constituency, and my obligation is to them, and the truth which I have also committed myself to uphold as a journalist. So if you don't give me a job, I won't die, but then I need to push this story out, because I'm naturally a storyteller, and I want to tell the stories of underserved and disadvantaged communities, like persons with disabilities, girls, children generally, and women who are constantly, brutalized and exposed to intimate partner violence and rape and the rest of them. So that's how the person stopped, helping me to lobby to get a job, and so I remain jobless, except for that I write, as a freelancer, and I don't earn salary. But then, of course, I'm thankful to the Nation newspaper on Sunday, particularly Mr. Festus Eri, who is the editor, for continually, publishing my story.
I know that you've won several awards. So which was your very first, and how did you feel when you won your first award? Where was that? What year actually was that? What was your publication that year that won you that award?
Yeah, my first award was in 2004. Yeah, it was given by the Down Syndrome Association of UK and Nigeria. The story I did that qualified me for that award was a story entitled Rose for the Retarded. It was a story about children with Down syndrome in Nigeria, how they cope with that particular developmental condition, and how the state or the authority can help these children to fit into the society in the face of social stereotypes and all the negative vibes about disability. Yeah, so that was my first award in 2004. And since then, I've won other awards. I think the following year I was a first runner up in the Born Vita Education Reporter Award, with my story called Devil's Alternative. It was an investigative story about how candidates cheat during WAEC examinations, particularly GC, which I also got involved in, to enable me gather facts and figures about how this incident happened. And then the following year, 2006, though I had left the news magazine, then I was writing for National Interest when I won the overall prize, still in the Bovita Education Reporting Award. I was the overall winner with a story titled Cruel Deal. This about private unregistered schools that bring students into the schools, and then using half-baked teachers, and then all of those stuffs. Yeah, what else again? Yeah, after then I started developing challenges in my eyes, and then so I lost my sight gradually, and then I went for rehabilitation and then remained in journalism, and then since then I've won quite a number of awards after I lost my sight, majority of them as a blind journalist. I've won the Nigeria Media Merit Awards, I've won the Diamond Awards for Media Excellence, I've won in the PwC Media Excellence Award as a business reporter. A modest, just to be modest, just a few of them. But
do you even think this job called journalism, ladies, women, girls should venture into it? And why? If really you don't want them to venture into it, why? If you want them to venture into it, why?
If you ask me whether I want young persons to practice journalism, I would say yes. Journalism is a noble profession. Journalists are just like we used to say, or we still say, okay, there are two professions in the world, journalism and the other professions. The reason is because journalists are so very relevant to democracy, to any particular society, whether it is democracy or it's an authoritarian regime. Journalists are just relevant because without them you cannot hold government accountable. Without them you cannot enforce transparency. Without them you cannot ensure the rule of law and the respect for human rights. So I want anybody and everybody that wants to practice journalism to think about it, and then go into it full throttle without having to think of the flip side. Although maybe you may not get money because now that journalists don't earn enough again because of the spin-off of the lockdown brought about by COVID-19, and the fact that media institutions are not making so much money. So you have journalists who are working full-time now having their salary slashed into three, and then so all of those ones are enough to dispirit anybody. But then the truth is that if you're a passionate storyteller, if you're passionate about social justice, if you're passionate about governance, if you're passionate about human rights, if you're passionate about development, sustainable development now and the SDG 2030, then you should consider and you should make effort to be a journalist.
What do you want the government to improve on, basically, when it comes to press freedom?
do you think the press have enough freedom as it is right now, or you think they can do something more, they can work more on improving press freedom?
Press freedom is important in any democratic society, okay? Whether in a democracy or in an authoritarian regime, the truth is that the press is the oxygen, of democracy and the society, and so press freedom is just important as democracy itself. Like I said, press freedom is the oxygen of democracy. Without press freedom, it is always the intention of governments all around the world to be authoritarian, to subdue dissenting voices, to subdue the press so that you don't hear alternative opinions. So press freedom is important, and I would say that in Nigeria, while the journalist is trying to practice, the truth is that press freedom is under threat in Nigeria. You see, harassment of journalists, threats with them, disappearance of journalists, brutalization of journalists, and the killing of journalists. So Nigeria is not, in a way safe as far as journalism practice is concerned. Although I give it to journalists in Nigeria, they are bending over to do that which is right, which is social justice journalism. They are doing that at the risk of their lives, at the risk of their families, at the risk of their salaries, at the risk of their job, because you see, they disappear you, they don't disappear you, they harass you, they don't harass you, they beat you, they don't beat you, they crush you by ensuring that you are tossed out of your job, and then you don't have anything to do again. So in a way, more still need to be done to improve press freedom in Nigeria.
Thank you, Mr. Ogundare. Thank you so much. Yes, I have really learnt a lot. That really, if you are passionate about something, you will pursue it even to the last. You will pursue it even with like the last drop of your very blood and your very being. Wow, that's good. Thank you for coming on this show once again. God bless you real good. And I hope that our listeners, subscribers, our friends, our well-wishers have learnt one or two things from this particular interview. And I hope we are going to run with it and work with it throughout all that we have determined to do, all that we are doing, and all that we still intend doing in the near future. Like I would always tell everybody, don't leave your dream behind. Let your dream and the zeal you have for that dream continuously pilot you to a greater height. Thank you for listening to today's episode of my experience, and I hope you've enjoyed it, you've loved it, and you're looking forward to having other interesting episodes as well. If you have stories to tell us, you can join us. Share your story with me on aylizy2018@gmail.com. aylizy2018@gmail.com.